Welcome to the Crushing Debt Podcast with your host, Florida attorney Shawn, where our goal is to help you get rid of the financial bullies in your life.
So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and I have with me again your financial coach, George Corbello. Welcome, George.
Hey, how you guys doing? It's another fine episode. I'm ready to learn and be motivated. That's what I'm thinking today is going to be. It's all about motivation so that I can get through the process of buying a home. I'm still getting that house, and my goodness, every day that anxiety keeps mounting up of like, how am I going to get this down payment again? But
when is construction supposed to be done?
Be done January 2024. So maybe
you'll be moving in sometime 2025.
See, that scares me. So thanks for that, Shawn. I appreciate that.
Anything I can do to help. But we do have words, and we also have a guest on this week's show. Now, before we get to our guest really quick, I want to talk about one of our two sponsors, Mark Purvis. He's been our editor all the way from day one. He's got a website called LegacySpotlight.com. So if you want to capture any stories for future generations or capture stories of past generations for future generations, contact Mark at LegacySpotlight.com. He's an Emmy Award-winning videographer with 20-plus years experience in his craft. Like I said, he's been editing our show for years, since day one, and he'll come out. He'll make it fun. He'll prepare all that. He'll video it. He'll edit it. He'll do all that. So if you have stories that you want to preserve, LegacySpotlight.com. I want to get to our guest today here real quick. Before I do that, I got to pull up all of his... Two screens just aren't enough. So our guest this week was born in St. Pete. He's a Florida native like me. I am a Florida native.
I'm sorry to hear that.
As well. No, not like George that moved here a few years ago, and because he's been here so long.
I'm a Florida guy already. We're done.
But I was born here. Our guest was born here. He's been training in personal development since a very young age. He lives his life with integrity, and that has helped him as he's gotten older. very, very much older. He's a top producing account executive salesman. He started his podcast in December of last year, which would be December of 22.
It was actually 2019.
2019. Wow, this bio is old. So he started his podcast in December of 19. It's called How to Win with Brad DeMint. He also works for Greenleaf Title, a title company here in the Tampa Bay area. He loves the title business. We're going to talk to Brad today all about how to win. You can find his podcast, How to Win, on any podcast player out there. Wherever you're listening to this show, you can find his show. You can find him at braddemint.com. You can also email him, brad@greenleaftitlefl.com. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Hey, excited to be on today. You guys are awesome, and I'm looking forward to some awesome conversations.
Yeah, so
I got to say, Brad is a very old soul because I brought him on. I'm like, between Shawn and I, we're like, talking to this young man is very, and surprisingly with all the things that he does, all the things that you do, Brad, it's amazing. How old are you again?
So I'm 23, yeah, which is funny because if you guys met me, you'd probably think that I'm a lot older than 23. Mostly because I'm bald.
But, join the crew.
Yeah, we were all going. I was going bald. I was like, I'm either going to be the bald spot guy or the bald guy, and I decided just to shave it off.
When I had that little tuft right in the center of my head, I was like, enough. And
You're done?
I just took it off.
Yeah, so I was born in 2000, which is funny. I don't always lead with that, but I think it's kind of interesting because it gets attention. I've been in the title business for 5 years, and really just learning and growing every single day. And when I started the podcast, I actually started out before I got into the title business. I was in the phone business. I worked at a phone store and became the sales manager. I was training salespeople, and a lot of people that I was training were having a lot of success with what I was teaching them. And I was like, a lot of people were saying that you should start a podcast. You should talk about this. Really scale it and show people what you're talking about, and really show them how to win. And that's what started the How to Win with Brad DeMint podcast. And really just having fun with it, not making really long episodes. Short episodes where I could just share winning strategies with people and really help people grow. So, and that was a huge part of that. And also, title's a pretty boring business. It's not one of those, sexy businesses that everybody wants to talk about all the time, but it's something people need. So I wanted to do something a little different and, it works well with me, because if I was talking about a title on the podcast, a lot of people would not want to listen to it.
You get one episode. That's all you get. That's it. That's all you get.
I've been able to build a pretty good following on social media, and I've learned a lot about it. And when it comes to sales and marketing, I'm always learning and growing. But those are some big things that I really focus on. So. I'm excited to be on the show, and excited to talk about how to win and crushing debt.
That's what I'm saying. So what does that mean, though, when it comes to like how to win, especially like as a small business owner, again, as a business owner itself, and we talk about the things that you've touched upon things in your, like being persistent, in your podcasts and those kind of, what does that mean, though, when we say like, as an entrepreneur or even as a person itself, what does it mean to win? Like how to win?
Let me ask you this, George, because this is the funnest part about, the word winning.
Okay.
What does winning mean to you?
Winning, from a sports analogy, obviously having more points than the other team. For me, winning in life would be being satisfied with how much work I put into what I do, and obviously what I can give back to my family and to the community. So that's a quick version and probably a little sappy there, but yeah, that's my definition of that.
All right, Shawn, let me ask you, what does winning mean to you?
It's interesting. I'm in the middle of a book right now. Have you heard of Simon Sinek?
Yeah, I have, actually.
Start with Why, Simon Sinek. So I'm in the middle of a book right now, or in the beginning of a book right now that he wrote called The Infinite Game. And basically the concept of the book is you look at life in terms of the long term. You don't, there are certain things like sports games where you have a winner, you have a loser, you have a score. There's something like if I go to court, I win the case or I lose the case. There's a score there.
Right.
But when you talk about life, it's the long play. So if I say I'm winning at life, what does it look like to be losing, number one? But number two, then what? So the way that I would answer that question is I've got my health, I've got my wife, I've got my kids, I've got my happiness. We just got back from a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the law firm's successful, the podcast is doing great. In my mind, those are all benchmarks. I don't know that I could say I'm winning, but I'm doing good for where I'm at.
So the reason why I asked you guys what winning meant to you is because winning means something different to everybody.
Right.
So if everyone, the people that are listening to this right now, if I were to ask them, they're probably thinking, well, what does winning mean to me? And that was the whole thing with how to win, right? Because there's a lot of different ways to win. And with me, winning's all about freedom. Winning's about, if you don't quit, you don't lose, right? So if you keep going, right? And I'm not saying that everyone's a winner, but if you just keep moving forward, you're going to eventually win. If you don't give up, you're going to eventually win. So, but that was one of the things, and one of the things I usually ask people a lot on my podcast is, what does winning mean to you? I always get different answers, and I love to do that. And one of the things with How to Win was I was like, I didn't want to just be the Brad DeMint podcast, because it's really about helping other people win.
Right.
And interviewing people that I think have won in different areas. And, we're not all going to win in every area of our life all the time. But if we're always looking to win, that's how we're really going to grow. So that's what it really comes down to. Like, when I say how to win, winning just means something different to everybody else. And I think it's a really powerful word that you can really, learn how to win by really thinking about what winning means to you.
Yeah, that's a lot of what the Infinite Game book is about, in terms of what's your primary purpose? Why do you do what, going back to that start with why kind of concept, and then his concept of winning is sort of building towards that. Here's my goal, here's my focus, here's what I'm about, and I am on my way on that path to get there, and that's what he sort of considers as winning. It was an interesting concept. I'm only 3 chapters into the book.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it was a really cool book.
So when it comes to like a lot of the clients that come to Shawn and come to me as well, that definition of winning is a little kind of blurred when it comes to their finances and where they are. Even, small business entrepreneurs at the beginning, it's kind of like, what is that definition? What are those benchmarks itself? There's an attitude that's holding us back sometimes. What are some of the things that you think we should be, doing when it comes to those kind of struggles, those challenges that we're kind of facing? how do we start winning? What are some of the traits, attributes that we need to kind of put in place to get us in that direction?
So one thing, that I just want to touch on when you say like about the struggles and stuff like that, you don't want to beat yourself up too much, right? If you lost at something or, something happened, don't just live in the past. You only live in the past if you stay there. So, that's a huge thing for me is that, look, we've all done things that we're not proud of, things that we, wish we could have done better. But you can't change that.
Right.
So, don't beat yourself up too much. But when it really comes down to like things you need to do to win, the word discipline comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we're talking about a lot of the stuff you do when it comes to budgeting and stuff like that. It comes down to discipline. How bad do you really want something? And that's in every area of your life, no matter what you do. So I think discipline is a huge part of winning. If you look at a lot of the winners, like if you really look at people that have succeeded a lot in life, they've all had discipline in a certain area. Whether it's, maybe it's not every single area, but it's in most areas of their life. Discipline is something that comes to mind. So, and that's something you always got to work on every single day, right? There's a lot of things, and really it comes down to thinking, why do you really want something and what the end result is, and setting goals. And setting small goals too sometimes. I always talk about thinking big. Thinking big is a huge thing for me because I think, if you think big, you're going to really surprise yourself and accomplish things you never thought you could accomplish. But also set those small wins too. Set a goal that, maybe you're going to go to the gym that day.
Right.
You go to the gym that day, you feel like you've won, right? The small wins add up to big wins. So that's a huge way that you can really start winning is setting small goals. Set the big goals, but set the small goals too.
Yeah. I some of the things, again, we just talked about, again, it's all about me, Shawn. So it's we're about the house.
You're doing good.
So the house itself is the one thing. My biggest goal right now is that down payment, right? You want to get, 10 to 20%. What am I doing each day, each pay period, and those things to be able to come up with that down payment as we're getting ready for that big purchase? So for me, it's like, it's daunting to go, oh man, I'm going to need like, $20,000 to $40,000 to be able to get a good down payment. That sounds like a huge number, but for me, every day, especially in what I'm doing with my money, a lot of it is, what can I do this week? What am I doing every 2 weeks? I'm setting aside $500 to $700, whatever it might be, to gain that money necessary to get to that goal as well. So, and that's the other thing. Sometimes we get too focused, again, on the big goals, like, oh, I need to get out of debt. I need to be ready for retirement. But it's like, what does that mean? Today.
What's the old adage? How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah,
one bite at a time. So and I kind of do the same thing. I've got annual goals that I break down into quarterly goals, that I break down into monthly goals, that I break down into weekly goals, that I break down into daily goals. But I think something you said, Brad, that I picked up on was celebrating the wins.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved to Tampa Bay and I didn't know anybody. I bought myself a birthday present for having moved here.
Awesome.
And, something that I did to kind of perk myself up. What are some things that maybe you've done or you've helped, other people to do? Because we all get, even me, George, even though George laughs a lot, he gets stuck in a negative mindset once in a while. What are some things you can do to break out of that? If you find yourself in that negative mindset, what are some things you can do to break yourself out of it?
That's a good question. I think that surrounding yourself with good people is actually a really huge key of it too. Surrounding yourself with people that aren't going to let you be negative. Because I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm never negative. You might see me on social media. I'm always positive all the time. That I'm not always positive sometimes. Sometimes I definitely get that way too. But I always try to surround myself with good people, and I'm always networking. I'm always meeting people. You're going to attract people that are like you. So if you have a positive mindset, you're going to attract those people. But also look for people that you think are going to really be there for you. And and the other thing too is, because sometimes you want to be by yourself and really think, and that's how you can get better and really reflect on things. But when you surround yourself with good people, man, that's going to be a huge key to getting to that out of that negative mindset. Especially if you're around positive people. But if you're around negative people, it's not going to do the same thing. So it's all about who you surround yourself with. We've probably heard that a million times, those 5 people you surround yourself with, and I have a podcast where I talked about not just creating a power team, but creating a power army. right? And this is an interesting one that I've never heard anybody else say that. Somebody else maybe has, but everyone talks about a power team. Well, I don't think it's just the 5 people. I think we're obviously going to be around more than 5 people. So you want to surround yourself with a lot of different people that are doing things that you can learn from, people that are going to help you grow, people that you can help grow. And that's why I'm always networking. I'm always trying to go in a lot of rooms. I mean, that's how I met both of you sitting in this room right now. And I've always been that way since I was 18. I mean, I was
a few years ago.
Like 2 weeks ago.
That was only 5 years ago, guys. But I'm
not liking this kid.
Well, it's funny because that's one of the things though that that has separated me. I remember when I was even when I was 17, I started out selling Cutco kitchen knives. Was my first sales job.
Nice.
And I would go to personal development conferences. Right. I went to Tony Robbins' event, Walked on Fire, when I was 17.
Wow.
When I did that, I got to be around people that were doing so many things that inspired me. And I heard Tony Robbins, and it's part of my story that actually is interesting, is when I went to the first Tony Robbins event and saw him speak, and he started talking about himself, and he said that his first client was, he thought he was too young and not smart enough. And then he said that his first client was himself. And back then when I was 17, I thought I was too young, not smart enough. I didn't, I knew about real estate, but that was what I knew about, and I wasn't really sure. I knew how to sell. But I thought I was too young, thought I wasn't smart enough. When I destroyed those limiting beliefs and realized that I could go out there and crush anything because of who I was surrounding myself with and how I was always looking to grow, and it really took me to that next level. And when I really just destroyed those limiting beliefs, it freed me to not hold myself back and think, okay, well, I'm not going to be successful until I'm in my 30s. I can do this stuff now. When I started the podcast, I was like, I'm going to take action. I'm big on taking action. And I think that's another way to really get you out of that negative mindset, is if you do what you say you're going to do and you take action. I'm not going to say I'm going to do something if I don't do it. Right. If you do what you say you're going to do, that's going to help you. And like I said, don't beat yourself up too much, but you can always go out there and redeem yourself, because if you never give up, you're never going to fail. And
it comes back to, again, we're talking about crushing debt and wanting to do more with our money, being intentional in what you're, doing each day for that. And that doesn't mean like, hey, the latte's got to come off the list. It's more of just like, what am I saving more? What are those goals? What am I doing each day, each week, each month towards that goal itself? And I love the fact that, for you, like surrounding yourself, people who are I want to surround myself with people who are going to elevate me. Yeah. And I talking to a few coaches and business coaches, that seemed to be the, obviously surrounding yourself that are going to push your business and help your business itself. So I love the army. The power army is an awesome kind of analogy there. Yeah. But I think it is something that we need to kind of consider as we're all going through this, financial journey that we call, crushing debt. And we're going to, it's a podcast, plug there. But
well, and I can't. I don't even remember how many times I have to tell clients, don't beat yourself up too much.
Absolutely.
People get into this and it becomes sort of self-serving. It becomes kind of that snowball of, I didn't hit this goal, right, so that leads to that goal. And sometimes you got to do something just to kind of snap yourself out of it.
Yeah, and I've seen that especially when, as we get older, us old folk, just letting you know, Brett, do I have enough for retirement? Have I lived the life to the fullest? Do I have the right friends around me? Those, you do see that when you're younger, but you have more opportunity to meet those people and get out there and do those. As you get a little older, we sometimes get a little too comfortable. We get a little stuck. And I think that's the other thing to kind of motivate everyone at all ages to kind of like, there's never, the wrong time. There's no, it's the time is today. If you're ready to do it and ready to start winning, right? Just do it today. It's time to go.
I'm flipping through some of the How to Win episodes here, and it's a couple of them that stick out. Destroying limiting beliefs. This one was one that I loved. Where is it? Something. Oh, where was it? I just had it and I lost it.
Senior moment.
Here it is. Who is really stopping you? The answer is you. Yep. I love it. That's awesome.
That was. I remember when I did that one. That was. It is like, who is really stopping you? It's you. You're the only person that's going to hold yourself back. That was one of my favorite ones I've done.
So let me. I know you mentioned business owner, small business owner kind of thing. You're working there. The social media. There's a lot of negatives and positives about social media itself. How are you using social media to help your business?
Yeah, so it's funny, when I was, starting out in this, I was really focused on sales, and sales was like all I studied, and I'm still always learning sales every single day. But in 2020, I really wanted to take a deep dive in learning about marketing, and I really learned that, a lot of salespeople hate marketing, a lot of people hate sales. But if you learn to master both, that's how you're really going to win, right? So I really started studying how marketing works and how social media. I was watching a lot of Grant Cardone, and I was like, how does this old guy on social media really, get all these people following him? Because he's older than all of us in this room.
Right.
Grant's like, Grant's like 63, but everybody knows who Grant Cardone is, right?
Right.
And I was at a Grant Cardone conference in 2019. It was actually right around the same time I started the podcast. And, that kind of goes into the social media stuff, because me starting the podcast was me getting more on social media. And I realized that, social media is called social media because it's all about the social part of it, right? And other people. So, back then I had like a private Instagram account. Nobody could really find me. You couldn't really see who I was. So I made it a public account, and I just started posting, right? And I remember when I started the podcast, a lot of people that followed me were just people from high school and stuff. And they're like, well, what's this guy doing? You know? First episode I dropped got like 300 views. Next one I dropped got like 11, right?
Oh yeah,
and then,
I know.
And then, but I stayed consistent and I kept going. And that's what I learned the key to social media was, because as I went on, then I started getting 500 views, then 600, then I hit 1,000 views. I started getting more views. Started posting the Instagram Reels when that came out. I was starting to get like 4,000 views, 5,000 views. Getting views that if you're out there just meeting people in person, you're not going to get that many views all the time, because social media is going to promote you. And it's one of those things, if you look back, and I know it's funny we're talking about how young I am, 20 years ago, people couldn't even pay for some of the stuff that you can do now on social media, right? They'd be paying for billboards, stuff like that, park benches. Now all of that's free, and we carry it around in our pocket all the time. It's just all about posting. So, I started doing a lot of that and just posting clips from my podcast and stuff like that. And then actually something I started doing more recently, really in the last year, is because, I'm a real estate title guy. So I'm always looking to connect with realtors, mortgage people, and people that, would use our title company. So I started going to a lot of open houses and just taking videos of me walking through the property, adding a little music of it. And it's getting a lot of views because people like to look at real estate, but then it also promotes that realtor. So, social media is not all about going viral and, really getting a million views on every video, because some of the stupidest videos get a lot of views, right? But it's really about posting what you do and showing people how they can send you business, but also promoting other people too. So you guys will see on my social media a lot, I'm sharing other people's content. I'm sharing what other people are doing, because I want to promote other people, and then my audience can see their stuff, and then their audience can see me. So that's a huge key that I've really done to grow my social media, is a lot of organic stuff and really promoting other people, and then also just posting and being consistent. That's really what's helped me grow.
And I think it's the authenticity, like you said. So there are some that go viral, but I think it's where you're authentic in the social media to either promote somebody, have somebody, go on someone's show, have someone on your show, do a video. Where are your social media? In other words, is it Brad DeMint? Is everything under Brad DeMint?
My Instagram is Win with Brad. My Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok is just Brad DeMint. It's pretty easy to find me. That's another huge key to really doing some stuff in business and social media, is make it easy to find you.
Yep.
My Instagram used to be like Brad_DeMint, and then at one point it was Win with Brad DeMint, and I was like, all right, that's way too long. So I remember I was talking to this girl one day, and she was just like, Win with Brad, it was my podcast, and she's like, you should make that your Instagram name. And I changed it to Win with Brad, and then now a lot of people, they know that. But when you just type in Win on Instagram, a lot of times I pop up.
Yeah, you're pretty quick on the top.
So I made it something easy to find, and it's easy to say. Like if I'm out there and somebody's like, hey, what's your Instagram? I just say, just type in Win with Brad. and then it just pops up Win with Brad, and people find my social media easily. So,
Nice.
make it easy to find yourself, and be on there, and then also, always have an easy link to send people to that, like, hey, I could send you this link, and here's my social media, here's my contact info and stuff like that, and just make it easy to find you, but also make it easy to do business with you too.
Nice.
Well, and I appreciate you being on the show, although the lawyer geek in me wants to talk a little bit about title.
All right.
So
Let him be. Go ahead, buddy.
So talk about Greenleaf Title. It's family-owned company.
Yeah,
right?
so my dad's the owner of Greenleaf Title. So he got into the title business back in the early 2000s, and I grew up watching him do it. And I didn't go straight into doing title right away. It was one of those things where I was learning sales, doing a bunch, selling a bunch of different stuff. Like I said, I was sold Cutco kitchen knives. I worked at a real estate school, and then I ended up working selling cell phones, which was a fun part of my life. That was very interesting stories that I won't go into too much, but you can only imagine.
Maybe one for the after pod. We'll do that.
You can only imagine working at a prepaid phone store. But then while I was doing that, I started marketing title, and I'm a marketing guy for the title company, so I don't know everything about title all the time. I'm the kind of guy that I say, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find out the answer. You're right.
So I can't just run legal issues by you like right now on the spot.
I'd probably ask the attorney, but no, I mean, I definitely know. I know enough to have a lot of stuff about title, But I'm all honest, I don't know every single title thing, because title is one of those things that's so boring to where you could, and there's something new almost every day. And I'm not an attorney, so there's certain things that I would have to ask an attorney for. But but the fun thing about that is that it's in title, it's all about building relationships, and it's all about making sure the process goes smoothly.
Right.
But yeah, you can ask me some questions. I mean, I'm always down to do that stuff.
He's just
I think I met your dad, or at least I'm familiar with Greenleaf Title from when Greenleaf used to have its office in the Pinellas Realtor Organization office. I don't know if are you still there?
We're not at Pinellas Realtor Organization office anymore, but I am really involved in Pinellas Realtor Organization still. I mean, I've been going there for a while and just always networking, meeting people. So
I remember when you all were there, and the thing about title, it can be really interesting, but it's also a form of insurance. So it's one of those things that people don't like to pay for.
Nope.
But when they need it, they're glad it's there.
Exactly.
But the issue is, the big problem with title is it's not needed all the time. Now,
Right.
I've got some scenarios. I've got 2 or 3 title company claims or title claims pending in the office right now, where luckily the buyers had title insurance.
yeah,
And so somebody pops up with this goofy lien and says, I really own your house. And okay, here's the title insurance policy. Tender it to the underwriter.
Right.
Let the underwriter defend it. So I know that, and I know I was in title for years. I don't do closings anymore. But it was funny on How to Win. One of the things that I think I did successfully in terms of promoting title is I always had the employees of the mindset of, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter who's right. It doesn't matter who's wrong. It's always the title company's fault.
yeah,
Not to be negative, but to put them in a mindset of, I've got to get ahead of any problem.
Right.
So if a realtor calls me and says, how come that didn't go out in time? Well, I'm sorry, but I have in my records that we sent it out yesterday, and we're waiting for so-and-so to come back to us and review it. In other words, getting in that mindset of, if I can stay ahead of any problems,
Right.
if I can stay ahead of any complaints, that'll make the title company more successful.
Yeah, 100%. Because title is one of those things, and it's so funny. I mean, people say all the time, they're like, I feel like I don't ever need title insurance. Like, when's somebody going to say I don't own the house?
When you do need it.
Yeah,
When you
it's
need
like
it,
when you
exactly.
do, and it's one of those things. You have to use a title company whenever you sell your house and stuff like that. So it's an interesting thing to where I actually just spoke at an event the other day, and somebody was they were asking me a lot of that. They're like, how often do you see somebody come and they're like, they don't own that house, and it's like you rarely see it. But you don't want that to happen, and it's one of those things title. There's a lot of different things the title company does. When you actually, whenever you sell your house, that's where you're going usually to sign all the paperwork and stuff like that. But it's the only type of insurance that protects you after the fact, and that's one of the big things. And you really want to know that you own that house, and that's one of the biggest things. So, title is one of those things. That's why we always get blamed, which I don't care that we get blamed all the time. We always get blamed for if anything goes wrong.
Part of the game.
But it's one of those things that people don't realize how important the title company is. And, a lot of title companies, a lot of it's the same prices. A lot of the times, it's not that difference in price. it's really about the team and the communication. Right. And, you know, that's the biggest thing for us, right? Like, you know, I'm a communicator. I'm a senior account executive to where, you know, if somebody calls me, I'm going to find out the answer, right? And we have a whole team of people that have been doing title for, you know, one of our closers has been doing it for 40 years. The other closers have been doing it for 20 years. You know, my dad's been in the business
longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, longer than I've been alive.
It's a running joke here.
Yeah, and I'm grateful to be on the same team as them because we all work together. And not every company, you know, not necessarily just title companies, but, you know, not every company really has a relationship to where a lot of them get together and work as a team. And I feel like that's what my team really is we're all work together and we want to just get deals closed smoothly. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm always down to talk about title. You know, it's one of those things that people are like, man, you should start another podcast or all about title or do an episode all about title. I'm like, do you guys want me to put you guys to sleep or what?
No.
You know, so.
It's a good nighttime podcast itself.
Well, that's one of the things you'll find as you get more and more into podcasting is that you think, well, 1 is easy. Let me do 2, and let me do 3, and let me do 4. And I've got all these ideas, all these podcasts that never happened after doing this one. That eventually one day maybe I'll get them up and running again.
There you go.
I've done episodes where people ask me about title and I go into it. You know, I'm always down. It's just one of those funny things. It's like a lot of people are like, yeah, we'd love to talk about title or have me come and speak at the real estate office. And they're like, you know, talk about title. And we will, but I get more success out of talking about the how to win on social media and helping agents because, you know, when it really talks about, you know, when I talk about what things that I do and what I speak about, I realize that, you know, I put myself in other people's shoes because we want to do that all the time in sales, right? Like put ourselves in other people's shoes. You know, I think about from the perspective of the real estate agents and the mortgage people, you know, my experience in sales and marketing can help them in real estate and really get to the next level when it comes to marketing and sales. So, because title's weird, right? Like, I'm a great sales guy, but nobody really looks at the title company and thinks that, you know, that I'm a sales guy, really, right? You know, like, I'm more of a marketing guy. And, you know, the thing with that is it all comes down to, you know, I can help the agents with the things that I know because I wasn't always in title. And when I got into title, it's more about the relationships, you know, and all of our businesses, relationships are key.
Yep.
But I just like to share the things that I've learned and that I'm still learning. And, you know, I learn a lot from people that I interview and that I meet. And then I share that with the agents that I'm working with because I think it'll help them get to the next level.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's two sides of the same coin. So you can't sell somebody something unless you market to get that person to talk to you. So, so going back to one of your original statements, I get it. Marketers hate to do sales. Salespeople hate to market, but they need each other.
Right.
Because without marketing, you're not going to get anyone to talk to sell. And without sales, all the marketing efforts basically go to waste.
Yeah.
So it's two sides of the same coin.
And that's why it's just always, you know, looking at both of those things. And we always just want to be learning. You know, I think I have a podcast episode about that. Always be learning. You know, I've learned a lot, but I have so much more to learn. You know, and we all do. Everyone listening to this. So
as the young guy talks, you know, again, he's
yeah.
I love it though.
Well, and it's funny, you know, because I know that, and you know, but I know that I'm going to be 60 years old and I'm still going to be learning. Oh, yeah. So, you know, we never stop, and that's why it's a huge thing.
Well, and I remember it was an interesting shift for me. I don't know if you experienced this, George, but it was an interesting shift for me when I first started the law firm. This was, gosh, I went off on my own in 2004, and at that point I was, I was 32 when I started the law firm, and I leveraged that, you know, young guy starting the law firm out on his own. I'm not so young anymore.
Yeah.
So now I'm having to leverage the experience.
Correct.
So before it was, you know, refer to me because I'm young, I'm hungry, I'm hustling, I'm this, I'm that. Now it's refer to me because I've seen it all.
Right.
Or I've seen almost all of it.
Yeah.
And so
more experience than
it's that interesting
the energy
shift.
and motivation itself.
Well, and that's actually funny. I have a video where I was speaking one time. It might be on my social media, and I was like, you know, you're not going to be the young guy forever. Because I speak to a lot of young people. You know, a lot of young people follow me and I inspire them. But I'm friends with a lot of people that are a lot older than me. And, you know, that's what I was speaking at, it was actually funny. I was on the beach and I was like, you know, a lot of people are going to say, I'm too young, I'm too young, I'm too young. And then one day they're going to be, oh, I'm too old, I'm too old, I'm too old. There's never the perfect time to do something, and that's why you want to take action now. So, but yeah, I said that one time, and a lot of people realized that because the audience was young people and people that were a lot older, and they both, you know, I related to them because the people that thought they were too young and the people that thought they were too old. And I said, there's never a perfect time.
Yep.
So, but that's the thing is, I know that one day that's going to shift, and it's already starting to happen. I remember when I was 19, when I started the podcast, I was really young. Now I'm 23. It's getting to that point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm growing up pretty quick now. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm going to be pushing 30. Then I'm going to be 40. Then we're going to be celebrating my 50th birthday. And it's like, dang, where did time go?
Veteran.
Yeah, I'll be pushing daisies. Let's put it like that.
Good thing I'm bald, though. You guys won't notice too much the older I get. But,
Oh, my goodness. Hey, what's the slogan? For the title company? I know you have
so I've been saying at our networking group, which is an awesome networking group, by the way, so I know George. But if you don't want your closing to go bad, call Brad.
Nice.
And I like to say that actually, you mentioned Penelope's Realtor Organization. That's where I started saying that at, because everybody has their tagline. You go in the room, everybody has the tagline. And, I wanted something interactive that everybody could say. And I was like, how do you rhyme Brad DeMint with Greenleaf Title, And I was like really trying to think about that. And I came up with, if you don't want your closing to go bad, and everyone says call Brad. So
there you go. Love it.
I try to have fun with it.
I don't know. Maybe we can get George to do the tagline of the show at the
end. No, it's okay. Too much pressure.
Well, why don't we? I think we pretty much covered a lot of what we wanted to cover.
I was saying, I'm motivated. I'm winning. I'm winning later.
Absolutely.
Something. I think that bourbon or whiskey. I think it's going to be winning for sure. But
Brad can now participate.
Yeah, I'm old enough.
He's old enough now.
When I started the show, I wasn't.
I would card him.
So. I do want to get to our other sponsor real quick, Sam Cohen. Those of you that are longtime listeners know Sam provides E&O insurance to attorneys and title companies all over the country. So if you are an owner of an attorney or title company you want to quote, even if there may have been a claim in the past, Sam can get you information on coverage. And I also want to talk about our social medias. So we got TikTok, we got YouTube. We got their Cabello Financial TikTok. We've got the Yesner Law YouTube, which I promise I will dust the cobwebs off of the Yesner Law YouTube. We've also got the Patreon account. So if you want more information, if you want behind the scenes information, if you want to just help us grow this podcast, anything that we get through the Crushing Debt Patreon account dumps back into the podcast to make the podcast better. Anything I'm forgetting, George?
I think we're going to have a story about a cellular experience and the afterpod. So I think that's, again, got to be a Patreon to listen to those kind of stories.
There you go. But if you want to get a hold of Brad, again, it's braddemint.com. It's Brad at Greenleaf Title Florida or greenleaftitlefl.com. Also look him up on Instagram, Win with Brad, and then Facebook, LinkedIn, all the others. Brad DeMint. We'll post all those in the notes, so we've got all those links as well. Other than that, thank you, Brad. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Yep. Definitely some winners.
No, but I'll take it. So, anyway, I think that will do it for this week's episode. And so our tagline is, when you want more money at the end of the month rather than more month at the end of the money. And I think that'll do it for this week's episode, and we will catch you in next week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.
If you have questions that you think would make a great topic for a future episode, please email Shawn or connect with us on social media. Shawn Yesner and Yesner Law, PL, are Florida licensed attorneys. The information contained in this week's episode is not a substitute for legal advice. Your situation may differ, especially if you are located somewhere other than the state of Florida. If you have questions, please contact our office or contact a local attorney. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.